Hello! Welcome to the live stream. This week's entire purpose is just a Q&A because I got back really early yesterday morning from Finland, which I live streamed live from Finland last week. So if you didn't catch that, it was a short live stream because we were literally going to get kicked out of the building we were live streaming in. So, but you can watch that. It was quite the rig that we had set up last week in Finland. Anyway, I didn't have the wherewithal to prep any particular topic, although I do think we need to talk about inflation because new inflation stuff came out this week. I have a donut. This donut is the size of my actual head. The donut for today is what is it called? It is a white chocolate pretzel fritter. So it has pretzel salt on it. And then it has a white chocolate drizzle glaze and then pretzels and vanilla beans. Anyway, I'm actually really excited about that. I also may not have eaten enough today, so I may devour that really quickly. I might get a slightly biased review. I was doing fine today. I went and packaged a bunch of bourbon to ship out for the shop, and I was doing fine, but because of jet lag, time zone changes, I ended up being wide awake at 4 a.m. this morning. I didn't take melatonin before I went to bed last night because it was inconceivable that I wouldn't be asleep all night because I was just dropped dead exhausted at 8:30. Anyway, I've been up since 4 in the morning, and that is now taking its toll on me. I was legit napping on the couch. I was taking 10-minute micro naps on the couch right before this live stream. So we're going to do our best. Be Queer Meg Stuff says, you look and sound a little jet lagged. Haha. Honestly, I was doing fine earlier. I was fine and then that 10-minute micro nap, I just started to really succumb. So SK says, content throwback. Ever Given made it through the canal last night. This time more successful. Yes! I like that Ever Given is part of the Oh My Dollar canon for live streams. I'm also drinking a hot cinnamon decaf tea from Harney & Sons, which I'm pretty excited about. David said, did you try that Die Hard trick with the carpet? Okay. I don't know what that is because I have never made it through more than 10 minutes of Die Hard. We tried to watch Die Hard for Christmas last year, and because it's supposedly a Christmas movie, but it just turned out it was a very action-y movie, which I knew it was, but I guess I thought maybe it was going to be less action-y because of all the hype of it being a Christmas movie. Anyway, I don't know what it is. Tell me what the trick is. That we had a really brilliant plan, which was we were going to sleep on local time, which our flight left at 5 or 6 p.m. It was supposed to leave at 5 p.m. and ended up leaving at 6 p.m. Eastern European time in Finland. And that was, so we had a full day on Friday in Finland before we took off, and then the goal was to not really do a full sleep on any of the airplanes, but our final flight back into the US was significantly delayed coming out of Chicago, and we didn't end up getting into Portland until 2:30 in the morning. And because of that, which also involved having to pay to get a lift from the airport because the light rail wasn't running at that point because it stops running at midnight. Anyway, it was not great. All right. David says, you want to know the secret to surviving air travel? After you get where you're going, take off your shoes and your socks and you walk around in the rug barefoot and make fists with your toes. Oh yeah, I do remember that. Apparently it is in the first 10 minutes, so I actually have seen that. Iris Bear says, Die Hard is a nice break between Hallmark Christmas movies. Well, here's the thing. I don't like action movies, so I didn't know. It's not that I particularly enjoy Hallmark Christmas movies either, but I thought, oh, maybe this will be the one, but yeah. Dean says, sorry, a bit late. I've been listening to the Bengals game. Who day? The David Shansky says, to me, torture is being stuck in a room with the Hallmark channel on during the 60 days of endless Christmas movies. I mean, that's definitely something that could be construed as particularly terrible. Yeah, I actually had some people who asked some questions about coming back into the US. Who was it? Let me see. I got some Q&A for the Q&A on, the Q&A here. Okay, Marietta asked, did you whistle and people look at you funny about Finland? Unfortunately, no, I don't think I did any whistling. So, oh wait, no, actually there was some whistling that happened. So Marietta asked this, who says, I thought it was strange that my ex would get upset if I whistled while I walked. So we were not whistling while we were walking, which isn't something I'm particularly prone to do. I also find it a little strange when people whistle while they walk, but I'm like all about it if you're talented at that. But apparently there is a, like, we went on a tour of the Northern Lights in Finland. We went Northern Lights hunting, and we were successful in hunting the Northern Lights. But our guide, who is from Lapland, said that there's like one of the Sami, which is the indigenous people that live in the Lapland region. They're like, they say that when the Northern Lights come to you, they're whistling back at you. And if you want to find them, you whistle at them. So for a little while, we were all just whistling at the sky in an attempt to bring the Northern Lights out. I totally have botched the description of the whistling. He told it in a much more flowery sort of way. But what was really interesting about it was that that this has long been, just part of the lore around the Northern Lights and the auroras in Lapland among the Sami people, but using science, the University of Helsinki was actually able to prove, like, recently that the Aurora Borealis actually do make sounds. Fuzzbubble says, sorry for not knowing, is Lapland its own country? No, Lapland is the northern region that includes, it's actually like, it's called Lappi in Finnish. It is the northern state of Finland, but Lapland itself actually encompasses the northern regions of Sweden and Finland, and I believe some parts of Norway, essentially. Iris Bear says, sounds like Frozen 2 was based on that. Was it based on the whistling things? I know Frozen was based on, I believe, Nordic tales? I don't know. They're all based on fairy tales. I completely believe that Frozen is based off Finnish fairy tales after being up in Rovaniemi in freezing freaking cold weather. It was so cold. David says, I should write a generator that just generates Hallmark Christmas movie titles. I think you could generate the entire plot using... I would actually really love to see what would happen if you had an AI start generating the entire Hallmark movie, like just cropping them together. I feel like you could do it. There was a Hallmark-esque movie. I think it was actually technically a Netflix movie last year that was like supposed to be the gay Hallmark movie, the gay Hallmark Christmas movie. And I was really excited for it because I was like, yes, some like fluffy gay romance content. But it was, I think, kind of traumatic because the couple you were supposed to be rooting for, I was like 0% rooting for, and there was just like gay trauma in it. Anyway, it's on Netflix. It has Kristen Stewart and David from, what is his last name? David from the hotel show. Wow, I'm really sure. Schitt's Creek. David from Schitt's Creek. Yeah. The lights sang to her. I mean, that sounds 100% like it's based on the Sammy stories that we were telling about. The Journaling Broom says, "Oh, was that with Kristen Stewart?" Yeah, it was. I watched a Kristen Stewart movie on the plane though that was really fantastic and not gay, which is always a little bit of a disappointment now when Kristen Stewart is in something that isn't gay. But I will be watching Spencer because Kristen Stewart is in it. I watched a movie on the plane about COINTELPRO. It was like a dramatization of the French New Wave actress Jane Seward, who was essentially possibly murdered by the FBI, but at the very least had her career destroyed. Anyway, it's totally worth watching. What is it called, actually? I can only remember COINTELPRO. Kristen Stewart. I love Googling COINTELPRO Kristen Stewart. Seberg. Okay, so it's Seberg, and it is really good. It is essentially all about being targeted by COINTELPRO, which was Hoover's FBI program, essentially to take down the Black Panthers, but also lots of other fringe activist groups and mainstream activism groups. And essentially, Seberg was a French New Age actress who was funneling money to the Black Panthers, was a really vocal supporter of the civil rights movement, and she was monitored by the FBI, and her like whole career was destroyed, and she was possibly murdered but made to look like a suicide by the FBI. And Gene Seberg's entire the whole history of any of this was never made public until the Weather Underground went and broke into the FBI and got all of these FBI records. So anyway, it's very fascinating. David says, no, worse were the Hallmark Hanukkah movies. They tried to be inclusive. I didn't even know. Oh, I did see one of those on the plane, and I was like, no. I didn't watch it, but I saw it in the listings. Fuzzbubble says the movie Last Christmas from 2 years ago is amazing, based off the song hilariously. Last Christmas. I don't remember the rest of that song, so. Dean says not gay is sad. Agreed. But I will say that Kristen, as Princess Diana, I am probably gonna watch that. So mostly because it's gotten such rave reviews. Other questions that Marietta had was, how is reentry into the U.S.? I try to fly back into Portland instead of a major airport hub. Hello. I would like to argue that Portland is both an international airport and a major airport hub. Alaska Airlines, I think, is a major airline now, and we are a hub for them. That being said, I actually re-entered the U.S. in Chicago at O'Hare, so which was fine. It was breezy. I have global entry, so most of the paperwork stuff they had us do in Finland, so we had to get tests within 24 hours. The rules actually changed to the day we left for Finland. It used to be that you had to get a COVID test within 3 days of re-entering the US, but you had to get it within 1 day now. We had brought tests with us, like proctored tests essentially from Navica, where they were COVID tests in sealed boxes, and then you had to like log in and make an appointment to have a proctor watch you do it. And then they would give you a little CDC certified thing that they would email it to you, and it would like appear on your phone to say that you had a negative test result. I mean, as long as you had a negative test result, luckily we did. The reason we did that was because we looked up the prices for getting tests in Finland, and they were quite expensive. So at least we were able to buy these on an HSA. The downside was, one, those boxes, you weren't allowed to open them because you had to unseal them on camera. And the boxes were like pretty chunky. And we had to bring backup tests in case like the tests were inconclusive. And then the second problem was it was so cold while we were in Rovaniemi. I mean, it was so cold the whole time we were in Finland. It was like negative 25 Celsius, and the tests weren't supposed to be stored below freezing. And we were extremely paranoid that just being in our bags while we were out, like, walking between the bus and the train and stuff like that was going to get them, get them actually, like, frozen, and then they weren't going to be used. But the control still worked, so hopefully, I mean, we were able to get back in, and hopefully the tests were correct. But yeah, it was pretty easy. We did have to sign this very confusing and very poorly designed paperwork. Coming back, it was like, they gave us this like paper to sign that we had to like hand in at the gate, like while we were getting our boarding passes, because we had to go physically to give our boarding passes. We couldn't get them ahead of time. And the paperwork was just, I mean, it was terribly designed. It was super confusing. It was just like a solid wall of text with like no design to let you know. And it kind of presented you with like 7 options, and it was unclear if you were required to choose all of them. Anyway, it was very confusing. It was all about COVID compliance. And we were like, man, this is a really poorly designed form. And she's like, oh, there's a 17-page one coming soon, because it was from prior to the most recent update to the US policy. So David says, Portland is more of a focus city for Alaska than a hub. It is a hub. It is 100% a hub. I disagree. It's a hub. Especially considering that they have, like, a lot of administrative staff here. I would say it's a hub. Abel Jack wants us to talk about inflation. You literally want us to talk about inflation every week. It's true. I want to talk about inflation, too. So, yeah, it was fine coming back in. Chicago was super duper delayed. And I was unhappy about that. I don't know if that was the airport's fault. And it definitely wasn't re-entry. The actual, like, customs and immigration stuff, once we got in, took 2 seconds, I would say. Maybe a grand total of 10 seconds. Like, you don't even have to use your fingers anymore on the global entry. So, like, I spent more time, like, walking to the global entry machines than I did actually having to, like, pass customs and immigration. So, all of the stuff that I had to, all of the, like, COVID, showing them the COVID tests and things like that, we all did at the boarding, pass. We also didn't have to wait in any long lines because, Aaron has, like, Emerald status on American Airlines, and because of that, it's, like, the highest level status, so we had all the priority lanes and everything, and then we both have global entry for re-entry to the U.S., so we were fast. Anytime there was a line, we had fast track status, which was nice. The only line that I was really, there wasn't really long lines in Finland or anything, for any of the regular stuff, but there was a pretty long line for immigrations and customs coming back into the States, which is why I have global entry. So, you're a catch because of your airline status, Aaron. Here's the thing, is that we are really it's like such a bummer because essentially Aaron only had this high level status for like 3 months or something. And you get the way airline status typically works is that when you qualify, like when you hit the next tier, it's actually for the next year. And they will extend it as a courtesy for the rest of the year in which you qualify. So let's say you hit the top status in October of 2019, the status is actually for 2020, but they'll extend it from the day that you hit that mileage through the end of the next year. That is essentially what happened to Aaron with hitting like the top status. And also a status match on a different airline, like all of the statuses, and barely got to use the really fancy airline statuses. And then Alaska joined Oneworld like during the pandemic. And it was like absolutely, I don't know. It was just such a bummer to get this like fancy airline status, and then probably Aaron's never going to quite reach that level of status again, because I don't expect that business travel will ever come back in the same way that it was before. So yeah. Aaron says, I think I got that top status in November 2019 and then didn't fly anywhere in December. Yeah, you had it when we went to Singapore, which was in November 2019, but I feel like you had just gotten it before that trip. So yeah, it's such a bummer. And a lot of the airlines have been like extending and extending and extending because a lot of people just haven't even had the opportunity to possibly to fly the kind of miles that they previously did. And they obviously want to keep you invested. If you completely lose status, you might not be as motivated. So they like keep making it a little easier for you to keep your status. So yeah. David says, at least someone understands how tier status works. My students never do. I mean, is this an important thing to really understand in one's life? Not really. A lot of my brain is filled up with all of this. The Journaling Broom says, I ask because I see it on the news all the time. Were there unruly passengers, or do you notice some unusual behaviors or attitudes? No, we were also flying in and out of Europe, so I don't think any of that would have been true, but no, there was nothing unruly at all. There was one person that, as we were waiting hours past when our flight was supposed to arrive, seemed to be angry because they had missed their flight. But their anger was like not directed at anyone. It was like more like they were just loudly cursing for a moment. And it seemed to be entirely due to disappointment. But yeah, it's not, it hasn't been like, I haven't noticed anything in the either flights that I've been on in the pandemic. I think that news is reporting on it when it becomes newsworthy, and I think it's certainly happening more than it was pre-pandemic, but I don't think it's nearly as common as you would be led to believe, just like many things that get reported on the news, right? If we were reporting every car crash on the news, people would be a lot more scared to drive cars, because it is the #1 cause of death for people under the age of 50 in the United States, and worldwide. Yet we do not report on every car crash, so people are not scared of driving cars. So I think that's probably more what's happening. But yeah, I haven't seen a lot of it. I haven't seen any of it, really. I think the most frustrating thing was just that I just wanted to drink water like way more than was reasonable to constantly be removing that. The European airlines require that you wear surgical masks or K95s. You can't wear like cloth masks at all on the planes. So that was like, they had to check that with us. I'm supposed to go to Europe. I have another trip scheduled in like 2 weeks to go back to Europe, to go to Denmark. And I'm trying to decide. Denmark is on like a mild lockdown right now. That's how they're describing it. It's bars and restaurants and stuff aren't closed. They're just like closing earlier. They're closing at midnight, and they like extended the school winter breaks. And so we're just trying to decide if it makes sense really to go to Copenhagen, especially for New Year's. in particular when they're under a mild lockdown. I don't know. David says, how many people did you see not wearing their masks on the plane or not wearing it over their nose? I don't think there was anybody, like, intentionally not wearing a mask. There was, like, a 2-year-old who was too young to be required to wear a mask, wasn't wearing a mask. Nobody was intentionally not wearing their mask. There was definitely a lot of people all the time, just like there is out in the world, where it's, like, slipping down intentionally or unintentionally. Like, I don't know if I really noticed a ton of it on the plane or in the airport more than I noticed it anywhere else. There's definitely a lot of, like, slidingness. I think the big thing was that, like, people were eating, so it's like every time you eat, you've got to go through the whole rigmarole. So, David says, unmasked people watching is my new hobby. So something I found really interesting in Denmark, it was so cold outside that your mask would just end up totally wet because of the condensation, the difference between the air temperature and, like, your breath. And they just end up soaking wet if you wore them outside. And then they would freeze, like, in that shape, because it was like they would end up wet from the condensation and then they would freeze. And that, I don't know, it was a big frustrating problem. Hello, Will Gaming Wexy. Thank you for joining. Any other questions people have? Not just, we'll talk about inflation, I promise, because there's some things to talk about. I really want to do, like, a deep dive live stream on it, but as you can tell, I do not have the energy for it. Do y'all want to see how cold it was when we were in? So there's going to be people in here that, like, live in northern Canada that are going to be like, yeah, this is the proper temperature. I don't know if I lost it or not now. Did I lose it? I might have lost the cool map that you did. Oh, okay. Now I have it. I can show some pictures from Rovaniemi if you want, and also about how cold it was. Why are you not? I'm being very quiet. I'm sorry. Cheryl says, show the reindeer sleigh ride. Unfortunately, I can't. I have almost no pictures because we did it at night, because almost all of the time in Rovaniemi is the night. So we saw auroras, like, from the back of the reindeer sleighs, and I was desperately trying to take photos of them. But a reindeer sleigh is one of the least... You need a long exposure and to hold the camera very still to get, like, good pictures of auroras. And a reindeer sleigh is the opposite of that environment. It was pretty fast, too. The reindeer sleigh was, like, I don't know, pretty fast, in my opinion. David says, I'm fine with vacation slayers. Dean says, I asked how your cold weather gear and snazzy bag worked out. My bag worked out great. The bag was great. The cold weather gear, I'm glad I invested in it. I have no regrets about spending $35 on boots and, like, $100 on, like, a $350 coat used. I was very, very happy that we did that. Dean says, this sounds like a cunning plan to stop the tourists taking the best pictures. No, I mean, it just wasn't a picture-taking excursion. Like, we went on a tourist picture-taking excursion of the auroras, and that's how we got all our good photos. And you can go on a daytime reindeer tour, which is, the day is only, like, 2.5 hours long there. So, you know, good luck. Why can I not find the thing to share my screen? It, like, went away off of my... They changed the icon for it now. I supposedly just shared this with my... This is what one of the Northern Lights pictures that I got. So, um, this was in Rovaniemi. I have a ton of Aurora pictures, but this is like one of the better ones I got. We got like quite a few of them. The journaling broom says you were pretty up north then. What was the least amount of daylight in a day you experienced? What was that like? I mean, yeah, the picture, the I think the sunrise was at 9:30, and then the sundown was at like 1:30. I think that was the total. 10:30. Yeah, sunrise was at 10:30, and then sundown was at like 1:30. When it was clear, the day that it was clear that we were up there, it was sunrise and sunset just merged into one another. Like the sky was always sunset or sunrise color because the sun just kind of goes whoop, whoop, which was really spectacular. And luckily we had a clear night for going out for aurora hunting. The day that it was cloudy that we were there was like, it was just like gray getting grayer. So yeah, we were in the Arctic Circle, so we were up really far up north. I know it's real, but that photo looks fake. So amazing. I kind of want to show the photos from the back of the reindeer, but I don't know if Aaron managed to get any of them imported. I almost lost that photo and all of my other photos that we took of the auroras because my SD card decided that it does not like negative 25-degree temperatures. And it just like lost all of the photos and then they had to get recovered. Yeah, I don't know. It's very frustrating. Sorry, I'm not being very articulate today. I really am. Here is a picture from the back of, this was me trying to capture the auroras on the back of the reindeer. So you can see the reindeer butt and you can see the auroras. But like, this is me trying to do like a 5-second exposure to try to get the auroras. Because auroras, something that was maybe surprising to me was that auroras, if they're like kind of on the lower end of visible to the naked eye, they don't show up nearly as strong green as they do on photos. They just kind of show up like, more like a white with a slight tint of green, but you can view them a lot more strongly through cameras. Like cameras can pick them up a lot better. So, yeah, that's my less exciting photos of the auroras from the back of the reindeer. But it was very exciting. I asked so many questions of the reindeer herder. Cheryl says, you can watch the 2-hour YouTube movie of the Sammy reindeer sleigh. Super pretty. I actually asked the reindeer herder, who was a 6th generation reindeer herder, I asked him if he had any like movies or television shows about reindeer herders that he would like recommend as being accurate. And he gestured to the fire and he's like, I don't know. I know some have been made, but I can't recommend because this is my television set. So I don't know if they were accurate, but I did ask him a ton of questions about reindeer herding. I was particularly interested in the economics of it and how it kind of works out there. But yeah. I did amateur astronomy for years as a kiddo teen, and I have never seen the Northern Lights. We saw them on the plane actually flying over. We were not able to get pictures because obviously in a plane you're moving way too fast to pick them up. But it went on forever. It was like this strip in the... It's like when you see the sunset or the sunrise on a plane. It was really cool. But yeah, we saw like way, way more of it. But it was so cold. I was really, really happy that we ended up doing... We wanted to maximize our chances of seeing the Northern Lights while we were up there. So we did a Aurora hunt by car the first night, which we were very lucky turned out to be clear and had a lot of auroras. And because it was by car, it meant that you had the chance of going further up if you needed to get like go exploring and further. The second night we did the reindeer sleigh tour, which was billed as kind of an Aurora Hunt by reindeer sleigh, but as mentioned, like we weren't able to like take photos of it and stuff. We also were like dressed so in the full like winter gear that I had, which was like rated to -25. They still had us put on like another pair of socks, which I think was my 4th pair of wool socks, another pair of boots, and then like onesies over our insulated jackets because it was like that cold on the back of the reindeers. So, yeah, I didn't manage to see them in Iceland, and I've never been to Alaska, which are like where you're most likely to see them. So, but we were somewhere where it was like, we were somewhere where that you have a 1 in 3 chance on any given night in the winter of seeing auroras. Like it's one of the best places for seeing the Northern Lights. And if we'd gone even farther north, then it's like a 50-50 chance in certain places. But we were in the Arctic Circle and we were outside the light pollution because we stayed on like an Arctic resort, which also involved coming back on a Tesla Model X was our taxi, which was wild. Those things are here. Let me see if I can like dig up the photo of the Tesla Model X, because so we were taking the like local bus, which comes like a couple times a day to get into Rovaniemi, from the resort where we were at. But it just like didn't show up the last day that we needed to go into town. Probably according to our hosts, it was because it was snowing, and therefore sometimes the bus just doesn't come if it's snowing. But this was the taxi that we called on the local taxi app was a Tesla Model X. And this is how the door opens. This is Aaron's picture. I also have one that kind of maybe shows it a little better, I feel like. Hopefully I'm not scrolling through any. Okay. So this is what the side door looks like on the Tesla Model X. And then, this was like what the windshield looks like on the car, I think. Oh no, this is just a video from the inside of my bag. But you can see the like windshield like goes all the way up. I don't know, it was surprisingly interesting. We weren't aiming to have a Tesla Model X as our taxi, but since the taxi was very expensive and we had to call it because it was the only way to get into town, I am very happy that I gotta, see it. So the journaling broom says, oh, that makes sense. Kind of how the moon is captured on camera versus how you view it with your eyes. Yeah, I think that's like really what that was. How was the igloo resort? It was very cool. I'm trying to find like a picture from the inside of it. It was, you can kind of see it a little bit here. This is actually me just showing off my bag. But you can see what the inside of the room looks like a little bit on this view. I don't have everything synced on my... this is really exciting bag content here, isn't it? Here is like a view of what it looked like a little bit. It was super neat. The first night we stayed in this room that was like obviously meant for way more people. Oh, here's some more reindeer tour. This was our reindeer herder. Me trying to get, oh, here's another shot of what it looked like inside of our, on the inside of a, yeah, it was super cozy inside. You got the colorful bag. I did, and then Aaron actually ended up taking the teal bag. So, I think Aaron has to buy that for me now because I don't get to return it because you took it to Finland for a week. So we actually got to test them both. Kay Shaw said, not really related, but do you think people in other countries care more about local elections politics than in the US? I feel like local elections are important, but no one here seems to care. In my experience, people don't care about local elections anywhere, but I would be really curious. I would be very curious to find out if there's places where people care more about local elections than here in the US. I feel like my group of friends, because I used to work in politics and I know a lot of people who still work in politics, my group of friends cares a lot about local elections, but I feel like that's not indicative of the whole. So, yeah. I also, I go up and down. There's some elections where I'm like, oh my God, I barely want to turn in my ballot. This is like the third special election this year or something. Will you be doing a blog with the details of what you did with the itinerary? That's interesting. David pointed out that on Aaron's website, aaronpk.com, you should be able to get like a pretty good itinerary. I didn't publish stuff ahead of time because I think it's generally a bad idea to publish where you're planning to be on the internet. But I am going to do a video that is a full report on the train. We took the Santa Claus Express sleeper train both ways. I filmed it going up, but unfortunately that appears that all that footage was lost in my SD card having a revolt against the cold. But I put it, but I recorded it on the way back down, so... Cheryl says you should care about a local elections. I agree. People should care about a local elections, but I don't think it's like universally something people do. Here is what the sunset/sunrise looked like in Rovaniemi. Like this is on a like field that is, or a lake. It was unclear if it was a field or a lake because it was so many of them. Cheryl says, your mother is happy you don't post ahead of time. You say that, but then you also are upset if my location is not constantly updated to the website. So I don't know if I could please you either way. I'm trying to find more pictures of Rovaniemi. Here is some footage from the train, I believe. No, this is from the bus in Rovaniemi. Cheryl says, was the igloo warm or was it like camping? No, it was toasty warm. It was electrically heated. No, I wouldn't have been willing to camp in that weather. It was really, really cold. So yeah, it was like very, very cold. I was like, why is it slowing down so much? I was like, oh, the bus is slowing down. Cheryl says, oh, your dad lets me know where you are. I also don't, like, check in publicly to my flights and stuff like that. So, even though I do check into them. I'm not doing the best, but I'm doing some. This is what the teal bag looked like, by the way, because Aaron took it. Aaron also took a rolling bag to the Arctic Circle. This is us waiting at the bus stop, as you can clearly see by the bus. The most hilarious part was the reason we were standing on this side to take a picture with the bus stop is the other side of the bus stop was completely covered in frost and you couldn't see that it was a bus stop at all. So Aaron took this rolling bag there and it mostly worked okay. We were very cautioned against taking a rolling bag to the snow and I did not. And I am very glad I didn't because I don't think there was any way a rolling bag would have worked for me because the ground was like super uneven. Aaron was having to pull it very hard. And it all seemed to work pretty much okay, except that the last day, Aaron's bag developed the most excruciating shriek in one of its wheels because I think what Aaron had figured out, it had been like knocked out of alignment. The wheel had been knocked out of alignment by all like the snow and ice it was being dragged over. And it was like frankly embarrassing to be near him in the airport because the bag was shrieking like it was being murdered. So, and it will need to be fixed. Here's some train content. This is me filming jumping up and down for the train, but that is how much we were like wrapped up all the time. And this was like the warmest day in Rovaniemi of all of the days. This is also what it looked like. This was high noon. I believe I took this at 12 p.m. In Rovaniemi, so that tells you like what the sky and the light is like there. Any other good content for you in Rovaniemi? Just more train content, I think. Oh yeah, we went and we found this amazing outdoor ice skating rink, which I'm super bummed because the skate rental didn't open till later that day, so we weren't able to skate on it. But I think the track must have been like this was a panorama that got clearly a little screwed up. The track was I think the total track to skate on must have been at least half a mile or like a kilometer long. It was really cool. People just doing laps, and it was like totally free to skate on it. It was a mechanically frozen rink in Helsinki, which is, you know, because occasionally it does get above freezing there in the winter. Cheryl asked, was that hat warm enough? Yeah, the hat that I had was totally warm enough. I actually ended up wearing my, what did I just get sent? I just got sent this, terrifying photo of myself, they had like a board in the train station where you could pretend to be an elf on the Santa Claus Express train. I actually ended up wearing my, head cover earband most of the time because if I really needed to be warm, I'd pull up my full hood, and the hat would get pushed forward by the hood and then like hit my mask and everything, and so that kind of worked between that. David says, I hope it was under a good warranty. I don't know if the bag was under a warranty. You should check though. It was an eBags bag, so. I don't know if there's any other important or exciting content. If I have more, I don't think I have any more Aurora photos on this right now. Yeah, this was sunrise at 10:30 in the morning in Rovaniemi. It was very cold. It was just very cold. That's all you really need to know about it. But I did learn a lot about reindeer and am hopefully going to have the reindeer herder on. Oh, I'm getting airdrop photos of auroras. Here's another aurora photo. I don't know if I took that one or Aaron took that one. This one is mine. So that means there's been no post-processing done to it yet. But yeah, there was some pretty spectacular auroras out there. Cheryl says they eat lichen. They do eat lichen. The reindeer, we had an hour on the back of that reindeer sled to just contemplate all of our questions about reindeer. And then they ended in this like teepee, which is, it's not actually called a teepee. It's called something else by the Sami people. And there's also a Finnish name for it. But it's essentially a reindeer skin teepee, very similar structure to that. So we ended in this little reindeer skin hut with this fire at the end, and had some glogi, which is a requirement. I understand why they're obsessed with with Glogi because you need it in this climate. And our guide was like, okay, so if you have any questions about reindeer, I know almost everything there is to know about reindeer, so ask away. And I was like, oh yes, I have a list of questions I've been thinking about on the back of this. So my first question was like, why do the reindeer do this? Like, why do they pull a sleigh for you? Because the reindeer are actually semi-wild. They live in the wild for 6 months of the year, like all through the summer and everything. They don't. But then they're pulling a sleigh full of humans. Like, why? And he said lichen. Yeah, they'll do almost anything for lichen. And all of the rules about how many reindeer can be cultivated or culled in any given year come from a 10-year index from the Finnish government. The Game and Fisheries Services produce a essentially a list of how many reindeer can be supported or culled for all the reindeer herders based on the local population of lichen. So David says, were you afraid they might need a union? I asked about reindeer, union. I was like, okay, so what is their working hours? What are their breaks? So they work 2 days and then they get, or they work 1 day and they get 2 days off. They never work them more than an hour at a time. Sometimes they can work for an hour and then an hour later in the day, but they try to never work a reindeer twice in 1 day. The reindeer that do work are more likely to be either moms, way after their babies have been raised, or are likely to be male reindeer after they've mated, because the male reindeer, when they're growing their reindeer antlers, they're actually that uses up a ton of energy, carrying that around. And so they're actually some of the weaker reindeers, the males, right before they mate. And so while we were walking, we actually thought that maybe while we were on this sleigh, there was a sound that sounded like ice cracking or something. And it turned out that the reindeer's, that's actually the reindeer's ankle. So it makes this cracking sound. And that's because the reindeer walk in a line behind other reindeer usually. And they use that to find the other reindeer and follow them, the sound in the night. That's also why they have little white tails. So, yeah. Keith says, hi, I'm sorry I'm late. Well, all we're doing is me telling you what I learned from a reindeer herder. So I don't know, even not entirely sure why you're here. But thank you for joining. Cheryl says, sounds like my knees. I know. I was like, so maybe the cracking ankle I've had all along is actually a signal for other people to follow me. But I want to talk, Tyrans? Wait, what are trains. I was like, what are Tyrans? I'm happy to talk trains too. I am gonna actually try to film and bring up a proper, make a proper trip report from my return footage, but, I did enjoy the train. We can show off the compartment and stuff if we want. This was our compartment on the way back, which was from the top. Cheryl says, way to sell the YouTube stream. Hey, low expectations today is where low expectations is where I am going to succeed here. What other things do I want to say about the train ride? I wish so the problem I'm having is that the footage that I have is uncut. and it's not on this device, so I don't know if we want to just watch my uncut footage of me walking through the train, because I am going to try to do that. Keith said, Aaron said that it was night, so the trip had no real great video. Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, the pictures that you're interested in are not necessarily here. So this is what the inside of the train hall looks like. We could just look at this. This is just kind of a walkthrough. So there's two. We were in the sleeper cars. They had, I believe there were 8 sleeper cars on the train that we took back. There are 2-decker sleeper cars. There was also a bike car attached on the train that we came back on, and a car conveyance one. The bike car included like regular passenger seating. There was also some coach seating. I think most of the people that were in that coach seating were most people in the coach seating were not actually staying on it all night long. I did not remember taking hand sanitizer while I was filming this. I guess I was just trying to show that off. John says, train looks clean. Are the windows clean? The windows were about as clean as you could reasonably expect. So something I found interesting was that they had these seats with outlets in the hall, but it's like a sleeper thing. So I don't know if they expect you to just hang out in these tiny halls. But I did like that they had forward indicators if the showers were taken up on each floor. On the way back, we actually had an ensuite, so we had our shower in our own compartment, but this is the common one for the lower berth. The windows were clean, I would say, as clean as you can keep them in, like, the snow. The actual, like, train was fantastically clean. And I have been on a lot of trains, so it was really, really clean. Do you have any footage of the inside of the car? Aaron, I think, is being unfortunately forced to do this. John says, if my partner is sleeping, I might work in the hall. I mean, it's also a sleeper train, so there's not that many working hours, because it's like a 12-hour sleeper train, so you don't have a ton of, like, non-sleeping hours, really. But you can always go work in the dining car, which is what Aaron actually was able to take a whole Zoom call on freaking data on the train from the dining car. So Cheryl says, you are doing a wonderful job selling me on this trip. I don't know if that's sarcastic or not, but I'm going to say it was a fantastic train ride. Okay, I'm getting sent more videos. I hope that these video reviews are... So this is what the inside of the compartment looked like. There were 2 bunk beds. There was a mirror on the back of the wall. There were hooks on the back of the wall with hangers so that you can hang up your coats, because obviously you have massive coats because it's Finland. Then there's a ladder to get up to the top part. What I liked about the upper berth, which are the more first class sleeper cars, was that we actually had little holes to store our bags in for each of us, so we didn't have to store them underneath. And that was, I think, particularly cool because it just like kept them away, and it was nice as the person on the upper berth that I was able to actually get to my bag without having to have Aaron like hand it up and down to me. Yeah. Cheryl says, igloo warm, Northern Lights, train trip sold. Well, the only thing I will say about the igloo being warm and the Northern Lights and everything is that everything in between the train and the igloo is cold. But I did appreciate that, like, just everyone was cold, and so everything was very attuned to, like, the inside of everywhere was warm. There was always a fire going. Everywhere serves glogie. They're just very, yeah. There's a good future business. Anomaly and Aaron Parecki can lead photo trips. I think we'd both have to become much better photographers. complete photo trips. But yeah, Totoro says, I'd be interested in learning how you go about planning your trips. So this one, there was almost no initial planning. We went on this trip because it was $280 US round trip from Portland to Helsinki. And we were like, cool, let's go to Helsinki. And then I am always trying to try out trains in every country. And I knew that there was this train to the Arctic Circle, so we just started to build the trip around that. It was definitely the actual planning of it entirely came around like, okay, these are the dates that we got for the plane tickets, and then I just sort of stacked everything around the train. So Keith said, did your eyelashes freeze? 100%. Our eyelashes were freezing, and the nose hairs on the inside of my nose were freezing, which was like extra terrible when you're wearing a mask. Yeah. The Journaling Broom said, what did the trip cost you overall from beginning to end? Let me double check. I will actually do a blog post with all of this. I always try to write up all of my expenses. Let me see if I can get you some quick numbers, because I had a separate Finnish budget. It's a little harder to get on my... So, while I was there, I spent $300 or 300 euros while I was there. And that included food, Glogi, activity fees, local transit, including having to unfortunately get a fair amount of taxis and lifts. So it was 300 euros for a week. And then the accommodation we mostly got on points, but accommodation is quite expensive in Rovaniemi. We were staying at technically an Arctic safari resort. And because of that, we did have to pay a little bit on top of the amount of award dollars that we had, essentially. And the how much was the train ticket? That is an interesting question. I cannot remember. It was around, we went during high season, because it's actually high season for Lapland. We actually arrived on a national holiday. It was the Finnish Independence Day, the 104th birthday of Finland. And because of that being a holiday weekend, our train tickets were a little more expensive. I think we spent around 90 euros for each way on the train. But remember, that offsets a night of a hotel, which a $90 a night hotel is actually a pretty good deal, especially in one of the most expensive countries in the world. We spent a lot on food per meal, but we really went out of our way to make sure we went places that had breakfast included, because we knew Finland was going to be really expensive. The food was very underwhelming for vegetarians in the resort we stayed at in Rovaniemi. And I would say definitely, like, that resort was great. Their tours and organization was phenomenal. The igloo was super cool, but don't stay there for the food. But in Helsinki, the food at our hotels was amazing. So the freezing part doesn't sound very fun. The rest, however, well, that's sort of the problem, right? Unfortunately, the places with the northern lights are all very cold. Totoro said, did you have control of the heat in your train room? We did. We actually had a thermostat in our train room. Something I thought was really cool about our train compartment was that we had little separate charging stations for each bed, and they had built-in alarm clocks as well. So I did not use the train alarm clock, but you could have used the train alarm clock if you wanted to. But in addition to, like, reading lamps and everything, they had, like, a little electronic charging area with, like, a place that it would hold in your phones and your batteries and stuff like that. So, wait, was there a sign about if you were there, you were a badass? No, I don't remember that sign, but possibly it was there. Yeah, it was, I mean, the train was very warm and everything. Am I supposed to be showing more things? Is that what's happening? Are more things getting assigned to me? Should I eat this donut? We should talk about inflation. This is the donut. It is white chocolate pretzel donut. It smells like white chocolate, which isn't my favorite flavor, but we'll find out. I'm very excited about the pretzel. It's got like actual pretzel salt on it. It smells incredible. And it's like a fritter, so it's very tough dough. It's pretty good. Okay. The salt mixes excellently with the white chocolate. It actually is working very well, I would say. Oh, it is lush looking donut. Mm-hmm. This is delicious. I might just want to eat all of it. So, I think the total cost of the trip, I'm gonna ballpark it around $700 without the flight. So under $1,000 for everything, like trains, hotel tax, and everything. But obviously that included a super cheap flight and the fact that we had hotel points. But I'll actually do that there. Yeah, I'm not normally into chocolate, but I will say the salt really balances this extremely well. Keith says, that's it, I'm adding food to my live stream. I'm jealous. Technically, this live stream is called Talking Dough and Eating Donuts. So, maybe we can just work on something that's a pun for your live stream topic, Keith. Do you want to talk more about trains? Because I can talk more about trains. I think it's the fact that you've got these, like, actual, like, it's a fritter, but instead of fruit, there's pretzels inside of it. Like, they've been fried into it, and it just has such a good mix of things. Well, Abel-Jack might want to talk about inflation, but everybody else wants to talk about trains. Do we have any other train content? Oh, I did want to show how freaking calm the Helsinki airport is. Look at this. This was like a room that you could lay in and be bathed in nature. And it actually like tells you about what you are currently experiencing. That you can just sort of like lie on there. It was a very calm airport. This was also the Finnair lounge. It was a very nice lounge. This was their, like, food offering. But it was their flagship lounge, so it's probably not fair. Everything had lingonberry juice, of course, because Finland. Oh, David just wants the rest of my train content. We did take the train at O'Hare. I would like to point out how they took a note out of the Beijing subway guidebook of There's never such thing as too many or too big of arrows, which was really a relief after the Finnish love of, like, understated design that led to some beautifully designed but maybe not informational enough signage in Finland. Be Queer Make Stuff says, I'm spending this live stream making a patchwork stocking for my cats. Oh, that is brilliant. Keith says, what was your favorite part of the trip? Train? I almost always would say train, but I gotta say, the reindeer sleigh was just, I didn't actually know that reindeer were real. I wasn't sure that reindeer were real until, like, a couple months ago. I thought that was kind of wrapped up in the Santa Claus thing. So I definitely didn't know that reindeer pulled sleighs. So getting to experience it and then talk with a reindeer herder was really cool. But that being said, I do appreciate all the photos we got out of the Aurora, and it was cool. But the actual, like, Aurora hunting by car was not particularly interesting, although, gosh, our guide really tried. He was trying to keep us all awake. He was telling stories between stops. It was really fabulous, like, really fabulous to just have someone else curate going and hunting down auroras. They took us to all these spots away from things, so. Cheryl says, wait, they had them at your childhood zoo. Clearly, I don't remember that. I don't think I can remember a single thing I saw at the zoo as a child, so. Cheryl asked if there was a dining car. There is a dining car on the train. It was quite affordable, we found. I will also say we were very excited about the food on the way back because we were pleasantly surprised on the way up, and then we were very disappointed by the food at the resort. So we were like, well, at least tomorrow we're going to have a good breakfast on the train. It was it was like a really fabulous like breakfast menu, I felt like, for a train. I'm trying to see if I can find any pictures of the dining car. The dining car setup was pretty cool too. Normally I would spend more time in a dining car, but with COVID there wasn't like as much like hang out with other people on the train. I think Aaron did more than I did. I was tired and I went to bed, and Aaron took a call from the dining car. Trying to hunt down. This is the train station in Rovaniemi. Oh, this was the Angry Birds Park. This is totally irrelevant. But this is the Angry Birds spot. Keith says, Aaron said they had suits that you put on that kept you warm on the ride. Yeah, they have like big onesie suits that we wore on the ride. Cheryl says, wait, you have to hunt a viewing spot? Well, for the auroras, like, you know, you have to hope that you find them. So we had booked a Aurora hunt by car, and they actually like brought us, to all the different like kind of local spots that people would find them. You could actually see auroras from the resort, but you're, the second night, but we were actually out on the reindeer sleighs when that happened. But we caught the auroras in the time lapse because we set up a time lapse inside the igloo. Because otherwise we couldn't do a time lapse for that long because cameras wouldn't like being out in the cold. But inside the igloo, we had this like clear glass, and the windows were actually, you could turn on heaters for the windows so that of the igloo, so that they weren't really an igloo, it's a glass igloo, but they turned on a you could turn on heaters so you could make the glass totally clear and melt anything on it. And so that we had a beautiful clear view, and the time lapse ended up capturing some auroras out the window. It was quite nice. David says, that's nicer than the auto train, the last one when I was on. Banana was a breakfast, a carton of milk, and a bowl of cereal. I mean, this was like porridge with lingonberries in it, but that's just what I ordered. Their breakfast was, no meals were included with the sleeper car. You had to like pay extra for it, but I found them quite reasonably priced for Finland. Fuzzbubble says, was the Aurora amazing in person? The Aurora was so in some ways it was a little underwhelming because I'd seen it so much on video with like bright colors, but then it was very cool to know that this was like a magnetic field bouncing and fighting with the Earth's surface. So yeah, I mean, it was in between. Totoro asked what my favorite train I've been on and why. Let's see if I can, I might be able to easily pull up photos if I search really quick. So I really liked the train in Latvia, the Latvian Express train. And I do realize that there is some level of bias there because, the downside of this was that the downside of the Latvian Express was the previous night because of the land border not being an international land border at Belarus and Russia. Instead of taking a train from Warsaw to Moscow, I had to take 3 buses through 3 countries to get up to Riga, Latvia. But then I had to take the Latvian Express into Moscow. And one of the fabulous trains that I took was the Latvian Express train. And I do realize that I may have been slightly biased simply because I had slept the previous night on buses through Eastern Europe. So, you know, maybe the Latvian Express was not as impressive. But let me see if I can find a picture. I had a first class sleeper car on the Latvian Express because I had only spent $8 on all the buses on the night before, so I decided to splurge on the sleeper car, and I really liked it. I've taken the Trans-Siberian, and it's obviously like a really fabulous lifetime best trip. So here's some pictures from the Latvian Express in Riga, which I think is one of my favorite trains. Here are some pictures at the station. Oh, that's already in Moscow. Hold on. Okay, so this is what the inside of the car looked like on the Latvian Express. So the side folds down into a bed. So it's one of the like foldy down ones. I'm trying to find a picture of it folding down. Just finding me posing. So I had a full mirror at the end of the car, if you can't tell, because this is me posing for shots in it. There we go. So this is how it folded down, which I thought was pretty fabulous. Let's see if I can play it again. Poof. They also had full like teacups and everything for me. So I had a really nice like cozy time. And then there was a television set at the top of the car, and they had loaded it with all of these movies. Also, I accidentally matched the train car, so that was that. But all the movies that they had loaded it with were like travel themed movies. Trying to see if I can find. So this is some of they gave you like a little box of Latvian tea. Anyway, it was a really fabulous train. There was a shower on board as well. There was not an ensuite in the one that I had, but there was at the end of the compartment, and there was only like one other group of people. So this is the train this is where I was when I went through the Russian border for the first time at like 3 a.m. when they came on board. So I think this is my favorite train. It's not the fastest train I've been on. It's not the longest train I've been on. I just thought it was a very nicely done sleeper product. Oh, Glogie was the drink that we had everywhere. It's like mulled wine, except it's not actually wine. It's just like a hot berry juice. It's also called hot drink. Glogie just means hot drink, I guess. But you can add in any kind of liquor to it. So I was able to get alcohol free everywhere. David says you don't need to go to Finland to get lingonberry. Just go to IKEA. There was a bunch of berries too that were more uncommon. I love the design of things like train cabins and capsule hotels. Something about efficiently designed tiny spaces fascinate me. Same. I love that part about it. I think that's all of my Latvian Express content. It was a very nice little train. Oh, I need to rate the donut that I've been eating this whole time. 4 out of 5. It's not a 5 out of 5, even though I finished that whole thing because I was hungry, and I think that's why I finished the whole thing. Flavors were the flavors were on point, but, like, it was such a big fritter that I kind of was bored of them by the end. If that makes sense. I think it needed more pretzels and less chocolate, but that is obviously my own biased opinion. Oh yeah, here's another picture from the Latvian Express. It was a very nice train car. Someday I'll be able to do the Orient Express and be on their very nice, very, very nice cars. They're just the Orient Express is so expensive. So yeah. Cheryl says jet lag eating. Yeah, I don't even know if it's jet lag as much as just not wanting to go back to the real world. We could talk about inflation, or we could just put it off till next week. We might just put it off till next week because I'm pretty tired and we've already been streaming for over an hour. Poll though. Who thinks that I should go? I'm sorry this is such a chaotic live stream, but you know, not every week's going to be a winner. Who thinks I should go to Europe in 2 weeks? Do you think we should cancel our trip to Denmark? We are still trying to decide if we should cancel our trip to Denmark in 2 weeks. So, David says, if you stop streaming, I have to go back to cleaning my cabinets. Oh, terrible. Whatever will we do? Well, here, time for me to show you all Floof of the Week. Now I don't know how to get back to my most recent pictures. This is very hard. How do I say, like, today? There we go. These are our Floofs of the Week. So, Floof of the Week is the wonderful floofs that are affiliated with the wonderful Personal Finance Society members who are our Patreons that support us to make it possible for us to do workshops for low-income youth and transitional adults on personal finance, and also make it possible to do these streams and the show and have transcripts and support the forums. So thank you so much, and thank you to our newest patron who joined, who is Brackenjoy on the forums. So these floofs are very cute floofs, and they are the floofs of Rural on the forums. And Raptor is in the front, and then Pickle is in the back. Raptor and Pickle. Very cute. Keith will have to go watch Hallmark movies if I stop streaming. I appreciate the alternative activities to me are cleaning out kitchen cabinets and watching bad movies. When We are not going straight through to Denmark. We are going from Portland to Seattle to London to Copenhagen. Key says, link to your support page. It's down in the description below. Maybe our lovely admin will drop it in here. It is ohmydollar.com/support. But thank you, Rural, for being a patron. And thank you to Raptor and what's the other one's name? Raptor and Pickle for being very cute floofs. I mean, they're really cute. Excellent cute floofs. They almost look like twins. The journaling room is like, planner talk. You know what? We had to have a week with no planner talk. I am planning on doing, I am planning on doing a planner giveaway, though. So as soon as I figure that out, I'm trying to do a planner giveaway because we're really close to 1,000 subscribers on this channel. And while it means nothing, once again, my channel is turning 15 years old on Christmas Day this year, and I would like my channel to have 1,000 subscribers for its 15th birthday. Just celebrate its quinceañera with 1,000 subscribers. So I am going to be doing a giveaway of a planner, and I will hopefully be doing some more planner content, although I want to edit the train video before then, so... David says you can't go straight. There's no nonstop service to the U.S. out of Copenhagen right now, I think. Yeah, previously I thought there was a New York to Copenhagen route a while ago, but pre-pandemic, but yeah, there's nothing right now in the pandemic. Totoro says, I love the chaotic live streams. Thanks. I prefer it when I feel like I'm super prepared and I am delivering content in a coordinated way, but I appreciate that you appreciate them. David says, I forgot SAS. I was thinking of Delta, which just doesn't start up again till summer. JFK to Copenhagen starts back up in May. Oh, yeah. Yeah. SAS is who we are taking if we are going. Nyok Vic Hennessy says, your sweater is amazing. Thank you. I decided to go for one of my festive holiday sweaters, although I actually have a train themed holiday sweater as well, so I'll have to break that out next week. Trying to go for the non-Christmas themed holiday sweaters is hard, but you know, figured the donuts. It's super soft. It's really soft. I was actually wearing like a more cute outfit underneath this, but I needed the cozy sweater to motivate myself. Sorry that we don't have more planner content for you all. You know, we just have to have some streams without planner content since I'm not actually a planner channel. Oh, okay. I'm fading, y'all. Once again, we did not get it until like 3 a.m. last night, and we had a 36-hour Friday, I think, altogether. It was very long. And as much as we had brilliant plans to avoid jet lag, I will say both of us spent most of yesterday on the couch. And then fell asleep at 8 p.m. So, did we avoid jet lag? I don't know. According to someone, it's not jet lag if you don't call it jet lag, but I felt pretty jet lagged yesterday. Totoro says, have you been to Denmark before? So, I have been through Denmark, but I haven't actually had a proper stay in Denmark, so I would like to, like, I've been through on the train, but I would really like to do, like, a proper stay. We were supposed to go in September, but we didn't, so. You were under a cat. It's true. I was under a cat. The cat seemed very offended that she had no laps for an entire week, and then has been trying to make up for all the laps since then. Where is the cat? Did we lose the cat? Is she on the couch? Jet lag plus land of the no sun, body clock scrambler, I'm guessing. Yeah. To come back to the land of the sun going down at 4 p.m. and be like, oh, it's up so much later here. Dean says, I mean, we just had Boris Johnson sitting at a desk warning everyone that things could get bad with Omicron. So this is my completely unfounded, unscientific opinion, but I actually feel like the early data that we're seeing with Omicron coming out of South Africa, where it's the dominant variant now, is that it's less severe than Delta. So I'm kind of hoping maybe if that is true, then maybe it, even though it might be more infectious, it might be less severe, especially in vaccinated people. So, yeah, I'm really hoping that, I don't know, I'm really hoping that I'm hoping that Omicron will not be as big of a deal. But Denmark is having a peak of infections, and then also one of the largest Omicron community spread cases in Europe was in Denmark. So, although I think Norway and the UK are beating them now. So, yeah. David says, a recent Israeli study working with actual virus determined you're probably best off with a booster. Yeah, I'm already boosted, so I'm sort of just like, yeah, I maybe we should just travel, but also travel turns out to be exhausting when you haven't done it in a while. So, David says, just close the curtains and you'll never know when the sun is up. I think that is the literal opposite of what every doctor recommends of how to avoid seasonal affective disorder. Dean says, plus he has about 15 reasons to need a distraction badly right now. But imagine being a politician that has so many scandals in your government that you would rather have another peak of a pandemic than deal with cleaning up your mess. David says, without it, the resistance to Omicron is minimum. Yeah, I hope everybody can get boosters and get first vaccines if they are unfortunately in a part of the world where they haven't had access to them. So, Totoro says, at the mention of a planner giveaway, my head explodes with excitement like I'm on the Oprah Christmas giveaway episodes from back in the day. Lol. You get a planner! You get a planner! I wish I had Oprah money to be the planner Oprah. Well, I'm definitely doing a planner giveaway. It's mainly because I have an extra planner and I decided that rather than try to sell it, I would rather give it away. And it is a Japanese planner that is somewhat hard to get here. So I am hoping that will work out. Totoro says, oh, right, you're in Japan though. So I feel like the planner giveaway will maybe be less exciting to you because it's a Japanese planner that is easier to get. But oh, my dollar stickers are harder to get in Japan, so. It's 11:31 a.m. here in Japan, and these always make my days brighter. Thanks. Well, thank you for joining despite the lack of planner content, but we will, I promise next week we're going to talk about inflation, and we will also talk about planners, and we are agonizingly close to 1,000 subscribers, so if you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. I'm just begging at this point. 15 years is a long time to be on this platform. Also, I am cooking up a plan, a hopefully sustainable plan for regular edited videos on this YouTube channel in 2022. The edited videos being key because the live streams been pretty consistent now for almost 2 years. The edited videos, not so much. So, David says, I'll do a giveaway. I have plenty of junk I want to get rid of. Anyone who shows up, I'll give it away to. I mean, that's almost what that is. Okay. Yep. Smash that subscribe button. Consensually, please smash that subscribe button. Okay. David is out here trying to give us away canned goods, and I think that's a good enough reason to end the night. Thank you all for coming and joining today. I promise next week will be a little less jet-lagged and chaotic. And otherwise, we will see you again soon. Same time, same place next week, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. 1 a.m. GMT, whatever that means if you are elsewhere in the world, and on next Sunday. And otherwise, have a lovely week. Please pet a cat if you have one available. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you soon. Bye.